Hi, welcome back to my channel, and welcome back to my knitting podcast. If you're new here, my name is Oline and I'm a knitter from Norway. On this podcast we talk about all things knitting related, really. Active projects, finished projects, things we want to cast on, yarn we want to get, yarn we have gotten, yarn with a plan, just anything knitting related, anything that comes to mind. But before we get into that, I'll share with you what I'm wearing. And since it's December 1st today, I've chosen to wear my most red sweater. Still not very red, still not very Christmassy, but this is the closest I got. And that's my Louvre sweater by Petiteknit. I've knit mine in Drops Lima. I think it's in the color Rust. Drops names their colors different things depending on the yarn. I know this color is called Orange in Drops Nepal, but I think it's called Rust in Drops Lima. I love this sweater. I've been using it so much this season. I realized this winter that I need to get more sweaters in Drops Lima because when it's cold, these are the first one I reach for. I tend to reach for my 4mm needle size sweaters a lot in the winter because they are a bit chunkier and a bit warmer, and also some of them are my favorite. But I've noticed that I particularly choose the one with Drops Lima in them a lot more, and I think it is a bit because of Drops Lima. I really love that yarn. I love the feel of it. I can wear it next to skin. I love the colorways Drops Lima has, and I just love the yarn as a whole. And also it's a mix between wool and alpaca, so you also get that quality from alpaca of it being really, really warm, which is great in winter. But I think maybe the main reason why is my Drops Lima sweaters are the sweaters I have that are the most oversized. And that's really nice in the winter because that's just cozy and you can cozy up in your sweater. But also it's great if you want to layer. You can layer knits. I can wear another knitted sweater under this. I can wear just some wool. I can wear like an inner layer and layer this up. So I think it's because of the alpaca and because of its oversized vibe. I think that's the main reason, but this is telling me that I definitely need to add more sweaters and just more in my wardrobe of Drops Lima. I've been loving Drops Lima for a while, but I haven't really knit up a lot for myself in it. I've used it a lot for my son and for gifts, but I think I only have 2, maybe 3 sweaters in it, so that's something I'm definitely going to keep in mind next time I'm planning knitting a sweater or a cardigan or something, to keep Drops Lima in mind, because I'm noticing that I get a lot of wear out of my sweaters in Drops Lima. But I think that's really all for this sweater, and we can move into my whips, which I think are really exciting this week. And first off, it's what has become my biggest whip very quickly, and that is the Louisiana sweater, also by Petiteknit. Let's just see so I can try to show it to you. I think this is how it is. Yeah, and then you get the sleeves on either side, and then the front and the back. Yes, as you can see, this has grown quite a bit. You haven't seen it before, so you don't know how much it's grown, but it's gotten quite large. I'm about done with the raglan increases, and then I'm going to separate the sleeves. But I actually started this last night, but it's just worked up so incredibly quickly. I did the neck part on 8mm, and then I'm doing the body on 9mm needles, so that's just flying by, especially for me since I've knit so many baby gifts on 3mm lately. A project like this on 9mm is just great because it progresses so quickly. But I definitely notice when knitting up things with much bigger needle sizes that my hands I can knit a lot. I can knit like all day long on 3mm needles and barely feel it in my hands. I don't feel it at all, honestly. My knuckles do fine, my hands do fine. But the moment I go up above, like, I'd say maybe 6 or 7 is my cutoff. So when knitting with 9mm, I start to feel it in my hand so quickly. So I have to take many more breaks. So even though this knits up very quickly because of the needle size, it also is staggered a bit because since the needle size is so large and my hands just aren't used to that and can't really handle that very well, I have to take a lot more breaks. I'm also, haven't told you what I'm knitting it up in. I'm doing 2 strands of drops air. I think it's in the color white or it's in the color off-white. It's in the color, it's in the 01 color at least. And knitting this double-stranded. It's so soft, the skeins are so soft, the worked up fabric is so soft. I did this earlier, I think in the fall, or maybe late summer. I knit up a Louisiana sweater in drops Wish, and that was really great. It worked up really fast, and it was a great sweater for quite cheap, because drops Wish is 1 skein of drops Wish is like the same thickness as 2 of drops air, so you get away with buying less yarn, so it's a bit cheaper. But I have to say that knitting it up in 2 strands of drops air is a lot softer, and I think I like the fabric a bit more. It's more drapey. I don't know if it's because of the cotton in the Wish maybe, but Wish is great if you're budgeting and don't really care about it being too drapey, because I think it was a really nice result. But if you're wanting to splurge just a little bit extra, I'd say go for air, which is still quite cheap compared to the brushed alpaca, I think. That's in the pattern, or like Sandnes Garn Kos or any of the Sandnes Garn types. Those are loads more expensive. I think air is great if you're budgeting, and Wish is great if you're budgeting. But after trying them both, I'd say I would go with drops air. I just like it a bit more, like working it up a bit more. It's just not as stiff. But yeah, that's my experience. But yeah, I'm just working on this. This is supposed to be a Christmas gift for one of my friends, so it has to be done by Christmas, but I think we are well on our way to that. My goal for the day, honestly, is to finish the raglan and finish the body too, because it goes so quickly, and then when I get rid of all the stitches for the sleeves too, I think the body will fly by. I'm also a bit unsure if I have enough yarn, because I have to elongate the body and the sleeves for this, as my friend is quite tall. So I just want to knit it up as fast as possible to see if I have enough yarn. I really hope so, because I have been burned way too many times lately by too little yarn. But yeah, I'm working this up and it's looking so lovely. I'm thinking a bit about if I want to knit up a Louisiana for myself after this. But I've also been eyeing the marble sweater for some time, but that's on even larger needles, and I don't know if my hands would survive. But first of all, I have to focus on my gift knits and all my other plans. But this is my first gift knit, and it's looking really nice. I think the color here is a bit uneven. I don't love the way ribbing looks when you get above like a 6mm needle. I think the stitches just get a bit messy, but I hope that evens out when I wash it and block it. But other than that, I'm quite happy with how the stitches are looking. So I'm super excited to get back to this and work on it. It's super motivating since it's going by so quickly. Another motivating thing is to go through skeins. I've just now knit up my first two, so this is the third and fourth skein. Hopefully I'll get through those today too, but you can get quite far with just 2 skeins. This is in the size large, so about the whole yoke actually with just 2 skeins, so that's making me believe I will have enough yarn. I think I have 13 skeins for the whole sweater, but enough about that project. I have another whip actually, but I've been really good at not having too many whips ever since finishing that blanket I had on my needles forever. So now I'm keeping two whips at a time to not make it too much chaos. But my second whip is actually what turned into a whip first, because I couldn't find the needle I needed for the color on the Louisiana, and I suck at searching for things. If I can't find it the first time I look, I just can't find it. So I had to ask my fiance if he could help me look for it, because he is much better at not just giving up immediately. So while I was trying to convince him to help me search for needles, I cast on this Sophie scarf just to have something to work on in the meantime while he was considering looking. And this is how far I've gotten on the Sophie scarf. I am, I don't know, about halfway maybe on the increases, and I really like working it up in this color. I think this color is just the prettiest blue I've seen in a really long while. And let's see, this is a new to me yarn. It's the, what's it called? Araucania yarns. It's Mana. It's a hand painted pure mulberry silk yarn, so it's 100% silk, and it's super soft. It has the loveliest color. I don't even know if this does it justice. I'll try, I'll see. I'll put in a picture here just so you can see the color in a picture. But it's been lovely to work up. I really love the look of it, as I said, and I think it's going to give this Sophie scarf a really nice drape as well, and I'm really excited to have one of these in silk. I have one Sophie scarf in Flora and Kid Silk now in white, so it will be nice to get a blue silk one. This is 100 grams of yarn, and that equates to 200 meters of yarn, I think. So I'll see how much yarn I have left after this Sophie scarf, and then maybe I'll make more, maybe even as Christmas gifts. But this has been so pleasant to work up, and I love a Sophie scarf because this was just something I cast on to have something to do before casting on the Louisiana, and I've already gotten this far. And I also think the Sophie scarf will look really good next to the Louvre sweater. I really like red and blue together. So yeah, I'm just super excited about this scarf, and I don't know, but I've just been really into the whole like Sophie scarf, Sophie shawl look this last week really. So I've been on a craze with that, planning all the Christmas gifts and actually knitting up quite a bit after those patterns too. But I'm just super excited to add this to my wardrobe, even though I don't think silk is the best material in winter. But the Louvre sweater also has quite a high like mock neck, so I think this could pair well together. But there's not a lot more to say about the Sophie scarf. Really, it's just a simple pattern, but I love how these colors are working up, and it's almost like self-striping. So I think this Sophie scarf is going to be super cool, and I'm in love already. But those are my 2 whips, and then we can move into my finished projects. And since we are already talking about Sophie scarf, I can show you my Sophie shawl, because I have made myself a Sophie shawl. I think in the last podcast I was talking about knitting myself a balaclava type hood, and trying to figure that out on my own without a pattern. And I'd chosen to work it up in Drops alpaca and Drops puna, which both are 100% alpaca. And I did try that for about like a day or 2 and used all my knitting hours doing that, but it just wasn't turning out right. I don't think alpaca has enough structure, so it was just too drapey for what I had imagined. It just draped over my head, and that's not what I was looking for with that pattern. So I frogged that, just abandoned it completely, and then I thought a bit about it, because since I had taken the yarn out from my stash, I really didn't want to put it back in. I wanted to eliminate that yarn. So I sat down and thought about what I could do with those 2 yarn together, what would fit the gauge, and it just fell into my head, of course, a Sophie shawl. I've already made one, but that is in turquoise, and I don't get as much use out of it as I want to, because it's just so very turquoise. So I thought just a basic brown one would be great. I don't think I hit gauge exactly, because it is, I think, a bit larger. I knitted in the largest size because I just wanted to eliminate as much as possible from my stash, and it turned out really big, but it's so big now that I can like tie it like this. And then, even though I ended up not being able to knit a balaclava with this yarn, I kind of ended up with a balaclava still, because this is just so big. As you can see, it can work as a balaclava, and I quite like this look as well. When I finished it while my fiance was putting our son to bed, so when he came downstairs, I was sitting in our sofa looking like this, and he just burst out laughing. So I don't know if he's the hugest fan of this look, but I really like it. And since this is 100% alpaca, that worked against me when I was trying to knit up the balaclava, but it's really working for me with this, because that means it's a super warm scarf, and it's just super versatile since it's so large. And this was just a really nice knit. It's mostly garter stitch with the I-cord on the edges, and it was just a really nice like dopamine knit, honestly. I did think a bit about it, that it was a bit irresponsible almost to cast on like a large, just fun project right before Christmas, when I'm already so behind on knitting up Christmas gifts. But even though I thought a bit about that, I just couldn't get myself to put this down. I was knitting on this. I was knitting on this religiously. I didn't pick up anything else. I just knit on this, and it was great. And I'm in love with my new scarf. And I can't wait to use this in all ways possible. And honestly, if you want to knit up the Sophie scarf, I really recommend doing it in Drops alpaca and Drops puna together. It's super soft. I really like the fabric it gave. It has a bit of halo. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe you can see it a bit. It has a bit of halo, and it's just super, super, super soft. Still have a few ends to weave in. I haven't gotten around to that, but I've used it a bit, even though I still have the ends to weave in. But yeah, I'm just super excited about this project, and it's just been a really great knit, and it was fun just to make like a long scarf and also eliminate my scraps. I think I got rid of all of my drops puna, and then I have, I think, maybe 1 or 2 skeins of drops alpaca left, because that just has a longer yardage, meterage. But I think I'm planning to make a Christmas gift out of the drops alpaca to eliminate that as well. I think I'm going to be making penny gloves from the drops alpaca. Might keep them myself to go with this scarf as like a matching thing. But my plan originally, at least, is to gift that as a Christmas gift to someone in my family. I haven't quite decided who, just that I'm doing penny gloves. But yeah, that's the first project I finished this week. And while I was working on this, I was also thinking a lot about what to do with the baby bear bonnet I showed you last week. I think it was last week. And as you know, I had run out of yarn before doing the decreases and doing the flap at the neck, and I didn't know what to do. I was considering pairing it with another yarn, but most of you said not to do that, and I agree, those clashed. So I didn't know what to do. I thought about it, and many commented to do socks. So that was what I was going to do for a while. I thought I'll just rip the whole bonnet back and then I'll do Sunday socks. I thought Sunday socks junior, I'll just do the shaft a bit shorter, because I knew that the yarn I had was 25 grams and Sunday socks in the small size I usually do is about 30 grams. So I thought if I halved the shaft on each of them, I would have enough. And those socks I love, so that would be a great project for it. And then I also thought about ripping it back and saving it and keeping it to do stripes in a sweater for a baby or some color work or something. But I am really on a kick lately to eliminate things from my stash. I want to just get as many things out of it as possible, just cleaning it before New Year's with everything. Every project that comes to mind that I can do, I'm doing just to get scraps and yarn out of it. So I decided not to do that, because I didn't just want to have like 25 grams of yarn laying around waiting for a maybe project. So then I went back to, okay, I'm going to rip it back and do socks. But then I thought a bit more about it, because it took me a couple of days to finish the Sophie shawl. And I thought, what if I frog back like a couple of rows and undo all of the increases to make the ears, because you start those quite early to make the ears. I thought, what if I frog back all of those rows and then I do the bonnet without increases and just without ears? Maybe I'll have enough yarn then. And that is what I ended up doing. So here's my version of the baby bear bonnet without ears. I ripped back to about here, and then this is about the point where you start doing increases for ears, but I just knit that straight. And then I got to the point on top of the head, and then I just separated, as it says in the pattern, I had stitches on each side, and then I made the decrease here on the neck. And it did turn out a bit more pointy up here than it usually does, because the ears kind of soften that out a bit. But I think this is in the size 1 month for bonnet, and I think it did turn out to be the 1 month size, and I'm not too mad about it actually. As you might see, I did have to do another color for the strings, but I did that in some scraps I had from the Williams pants I did a couple of weeks ago, just basic light grey drops merino extra fine. And I've actually saved one of the yarn ends here to see, just to show you how much I had left of the yellow when I was done with the neck. I didn't cut the thread just to show you, I didn't want to lose it, and this is how much I had left. I think it's about a meter of yarn, maybe 1.5. So I was really cutting it close, and I was a bit worried when doing this that I wouldn't have enough and had to like stop right here and then frog it all and do socks. That would be a defeat, but it went and I'm really pleased with it. Now I know that I can do a baby bear bonnet with even less yarn if I just skip doing the ears, and I think the shape it got also is quite nice. And I think also the grey, it would be better if it was all one color, but I think the grey also fits. So if you wondered what I ended up doing with the baby bear bonnet, this is it. So that's now going in the gift drawer to wait for any more new babies. But yeah, that's what I ended up doing. So if you have a little scrap of yarn and want to do the baby bear bonnet, or if you like the shape of the baby bear bonnet but not the ears, it is possible to do it without. You just from the front get a bit of a weirder shape because it gets very pointy up here. But that was my second finished project, and I of course haven't weaved in any ends. And then my third finished project, and actually my first finished Christmas gift, was this hipster hat. I cast this on when I was done with the baby bear bonnet, I think. This is for my uncle. He's getting a hipster hat, and I wanted a small project when I was going to be working on the Louisiana. Turns out I finished this before starting on the Louisiana, but here is the hipster hat. It's in the largest size. I think it's called like male or man or something, the largest size. I used 89 grams drops baby merino in the color almond. No, not baby merino, drops lima in the color almond. And I really like how lima looks in the hipster hat. This time I also remembered to do 3.5mm needles. And this is how it ended up looking. If you want to see more like behind the scenes or like the making of this, I have a reel about it on Instagram. But this was just a quick little knit, and now I have my first finished Christmas gift, so that's great. Hopefully I will get through all of my Christmas gifts before Christmas. The Christmas gift that's scaring me the most is the Eva cardigan, because I think I used over a month knitting up mine, and now I'm doing it in the same size, and there's under a month till Christmas. So I'm definitely working very hard on my Christmas presents and Christmas knits, but it feels nice to have the first one done. And that's everything I finished this last week. I did finish quite a lot, but I definitely had a few stern words with myself throughout, because I have been doing way too much selfish knitting when you think about how close to Christmas we are and how behind schedule I am when it comes to Christmas gifts. So I've told myself that the Sophie scarf is the last thing I'm allowed to cast on for a while now for myself, because I need to get a move on these Christmas gifts. But even though I've told myself that, I've also ordered some mohair for a sweater for myself, because I am going to be participating in the Violeta pullover call that Eweknit is hosting. And my code is in the bio if you want to get that pattern for 50% off. I have not been able to cast on yet, but I've ordered my mohair now, so when I get that, I don't think I'm going to be able to stop myself from casting on, because I am really excited about this sweater, and it's going to be my first ever pink sweater. I'm going to be pairing, this color Drops Flora in the color pink, with mohair in the color, I think, pearl pink, powder pink. I really light pink color, so I'm hoping this pink gets even lighter, and I think that's going to be a really beautiful sweater. And the lace and the cables, I'm super excited. So when I get that mohair, I don't think I'm going to be able to stop myself. So I'm trying to get as much as possible done on the Christmas gifts before that, so I can actually cast on and not be stressed about it when I get the mohair. I also, since I was already buying yarn, I got some Drops Nepal for me and my fiance, because I want us to have matching felted slippers. I knit my son the Doble Tøfler from Sandnes Garn a few weeks ago now, I think. And this week he finally accepted them. So now he's started wearing them, and I just want us all to have matching ones. I think that would be really nice for Christmas and the days after. So while I was at it buying yarn, I just got yarn for that as well. And that, I think, was the last time I'm going to buy yarn for quite some time. Definitely, at least it was the last time this year. But next year I am going to focus on getting through my stash, so I think it actually was the last time I got yarn for quite some time. But I'm really excited about that. I'm excited to get the mohair and being able to start on my Violeta pullover, and I'm excited about knitting us all slippers. But yeah, I think that's basically all this week. I don't know, I don't have a lot more to talk about. I think I just want to get back to gift knitting. I hope you enjoyed this episode of my knitting podcast. If you did, please let me know, leave a like and a comment, and if you want to see more from me, subscribe. Bye!